All right, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow cultivators. I hope everyone's staying safe out there. World's going a bit crazy at the moment, but we're just going to focus on cultivation because that's a lot more peaceful. So, firstly, I'm going to touch on a few of the things that I didn't in Heaven Sect. And so, we're going to go into Rift first of all. Now, you can increase your explore attempts in Rift from 10 to 15, but it's going to cost you quite a bit of Spirit Jade. And I would recommend doing that if you have a limited amount of Spirit Jade. There are a few other ways and a few other things you could use that amount of Spirit Jade on. That would probably help you more in the long run. But if you do have the amount of Spirit Jade required, you can do it, and it will increase the amount of servant items for you to increase their power with over time, because 15 instead of 10 a day, obviously going to be good. And if you've just started, you've only got 5 disciples, 10 disciples, 15 disciples, it's probably not worth doing yet, even if you have the Spirit Jade for it, because you're going to have to be constantly checking the rift and sending them back out, and maybe you don't have time for that. But treasure caskets, now, I was supposed to show you treasure caskets. I've already given them out, but gave out 30 and I got 1600 merits for it. And it's absolutely worth doing if you've got the spare spirit stones for it. It costs 500 spirit stones per treasure casket to gift to your disciple. Now, the number of disciples in and of themselves increases dependent on your status at the top right there. So I'm an acclaimed celestial sect. I can have up to 30 disciples. Now, I believe 35 disciples in mission, well known in the world, maybe will boost me to 35 disciples. But again, these missions that you can do depend on the cultivation level of your disciples as well, and it is pretty slow when you're trying to level them. Very slow indeed, much slower than when you were back down in nascent soul, much slower. But it's cool to be leading a sect, very cool. In Master's Lobby, again, in Mental, I forgot to say that the top right here, the things that look like cherries, you need these fruits, these Bodhi fruits. Now, the best way to get Bodhi fruits is I repeat that, it's not through the market. Because you can get the fruits down the bottom of the pill formula and it costs 6,000 merits. That is an absolutely ridiculous price for one fruit, and you can use 2 fruits a day. So 12,000 merits for 2 fruits a day, hell no. What you can do, however, is go back into the main screen, go into your alliance, into the shop, and into Celestial Materials, where is it? Yep, into Celestial Materials, and you can buy 3 a day for 800 coins. Now that is cheap as hell. That is where you want to get your Bodhi fruits. Easy, done, and also a brilliant source of merits. 2k for 1,000 merits, absolutely good, great. Anyway, back into Heaven Sect. Now, in the Compete tab here, I forgot to show you this reward tab. Now you can only redeem these rewards once as you go, and it depends how far down you can go, depends on how high rank you can get in this. So I need to be in the top 100 to start redeeming these 20 Pill of the Four Heavens, and I'll talk about this shortly when I jump into the servant explanation. But yeah. Now, one of the last things in Master's Power into Sermon, cultivation base. We talked about this in the last one, and I said that doing this, it gives someone a skill to use, or it blesses them. Rod Funk got this last time, so we'll see who gets it this time. Makiko. All right, well, congratulations. But the important part that I missed out there is that doing that cultivation base gives me merit as well. Absolutely worth it. So 300 merit for 10 million cultivation may seem like a massive price. But honestly, once you get into getting enough books from Destiny and you start getting 20 million from one book, it's really a cheap price to pay for a decent amount of merits per day. Now, I will go out of here and we'll go into the Immortal Capital, and I'll just touch on Spirit Pets again really quick and explain Godhood, as well as where I think you should probably spend your first 50 Spirit Jade up in heaven. Now, this Godhood, I showed you this a little bit before. It affects servants' attributes in the case of this bird, the celestial bird, it affects the servant's might. The more you increase it, all of the Eastern Immortal Realm servants' might starts going up. I'm just going to spam this all the way up. And it depends, you can get the level 2 skill once the bird reaches 50 mana, which is 50 days really, which is quite a lot, unless you're paying to get all the way down here, and this is where we get percentage based. That is crazy. Once you start getting into percentages up here, that's when your stats will just absolutely take off. But yeah, each one will give a different, these are primordial land servants upgrade, just because I'm not going to hit 50 mana on these for quite a while. I'm just going to do them all. But yeah, you can see these increase the different stats of the different kinds of servants that you can get. And you'll understand this more once I jump into the servant explanation shortly. Now, in Baby Pet, you'll notice I have 3 here. Now, what I did was I expanded pet slot. Now, the first that's a lot for the 4th one, but the first pet slot expansion was 50 Spirit Jade. Now, I figured, you know what, that's pretty worth it if I want to constantly create pets that give me stats. And so far it has been worth it. I managed to get 2 Earth Spirits down here, these 2. And I am just leveling them slowly as we go up, and I'll be spending 5 Spirit Jade on each of these to synthesize with something else. That'll be a massive boost of stats when they finally get to their max level and grow into a proper pet. And yeah, that's really the things I wanted to touch on before we jumped into Servant. Now, Servant is, oh man, this is a conversation. So I'll go from the top here. Obviously, you have your ad, standard. You watch the ad, but instead of getting a little notchy pack, you'll get a primordial one. And it's basically better items in it, obviously, because you're in a higher level area. But upgrade items here. Now, I touched on what these yin, yang, and heaven pills did. You need one of each to level a level 100 servant into Foundation. And I haven't got to Gold Core yet, but you'll need the next level pills to do that. There are ways to get them, but I'll leave that aside because that's a bit more advanced. So, servants. First of all, Tai Bai, this fella. He was 50k from the Alliance shop. Absolutely worth getting when you ascend to heaven. This guy was from the Ruins, which is 1.2 million crystals. That's quite expensive, but he was very, very worth it. He is a brilliant servant, and I've only just got him. I just power leveled him up to Foundation because he's a gold character. Obviously, you go blue, purple, gold in terms of rarity. Now, moving into the top left of each servant screen, you'll see like an S, an I, a D, or a P. Now, this basically corresponds to S being Skyshine, D being Deification, P being Primordial, and I meaning Eastern Immortal. So each of these servants are from different areas of the world, I guess. But the main way that you're going to want to get servants is again down in Fate. That's what I said in the earlier videos. That it's super important to get all of the people that you can to 100 favor and ascend them as soon as possible. Servants are the way to get stats up in heaven. So, moving into the actual servants themselves, you'll see total talent for this girl is 56, which is really high for a purple. I powered her up the highest because she was, when I first ascended to heaven, I literally had one servant and it was her. So all I could do was just pump her full of everything that I'd gathered up to that point. I suppose you could say it has turned out to be worth it because she's really, really strong. But you will need growth points in order to break through. As you can see down here in the bottom right, it's got breakthrough. I've almost got there on might talent. But her main stat and all servants' main stat will be shown in the top right on the other side of what defines them. So you see for Miss Yang, we got S, makes her Skyshine, and on the other side C. So her main stat is Command, For Tai Bai, S means insight, so his main stat is insight. Now, the third one is a bit rarer because I'm assuming he's almost a pay to win character. He feels like he's a pay to win character because A means all. He's got a talent for everything. Like, it's crazy. But Empyrean Queen, the same, all talents equal. S, insight, again, you got B Xiao, apologies if I butchered that, whose main stats are intellect and command. Now, Ox King, down at the bottom here, is might and command, but you can get servants that have a different mix of things. So, when you first get your first servant, you are going to want to pump them full of their main stat. Now, I'll go into my inventory, into this pocket. Now, all of these items will increase different things. We got might for one, intellect, command, insight, and so on. But these are all just variations of the same thing of different rarities. So these bloods and blood essence give the highest amount. You get 500. That's huge. But these talent pills are really what you ideally want. It will instantly increase your talent. And it doesn't matter if you, let's say you stock up like 100 somehow, 100 of these talent pills, and you put all of your stats into one servant. Even when you put these talent pills in, it will scale it up accordingly, so you won't have missed out any efficiency, so to speak. Because as soon as the talent increases, the attributes increase accordingly as well. So, request timeout. So, now these Pillar of the Four Heavens will add random growth points to a servant, 100 random growth points to a servant. They're great in general for when you're trying to get up your first servant. When you start getting a few servants like myself that I'm timing out, it's not ideal. Oh, great. Quick trip down to Earth. Back up. Okay. I'll be back. Finally got back in. Going into servant again. Oh my goodness gracious me, we're having server issues.